Take it everywhere you go, fly it high for the world to see. Because you see, it tells people who you are, where you came from, and what you're prepared to do in defense of your country and in defense of your way of life. There are 50 individual white stars. They represent 50 individual states, each having their own rules, their own laws, and their own regulations. They are evenly sized and evenly spaced, showing that one is no more important than the other. Yet they lay aloft the blue field, denoting their loyalty to the one union, which is incidentally the name of that area of the flag. There are 13 stripes. They represent the 13 original colonies that had the intestinal fortitude to stand up to what was then the most powerful nation on the face of the earth and say no more. No more tyranny, no more oppression. By the grace of God Almighty, we're going to stand up and govern ourselves. And I think we've done a pretty good job. What say you?
Amen.
6 of those stripes are white. They represent the purity and the righteousness on which this nation was founded. The other 7, the red. They represent the valor, because they're the beginning and the end. The valor and the blood lost, past, present, and future, in defense of our country and in defense of our way of life. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be honored if you would join me as I pledge my allegiance to this oath of this representation and this symbol of our living nation. Present! Out! I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. You may be seated. Now, they told me I could talk for just a second. I'm going to hold him off here. They made a mistake giving me this microphone. For those of you who know me. It's going back on the fight. A couple of the titles that I hold are near and dear to me. I work very hard with Veterans Affairs. I sat at the semi-helm of 2 of the largest veterans support organizations in the state. We're bipartisan, and I've tried to stay out of politics. But I will not, under any circumstances, let somebody use my Marine Corps against this man. Amen. I have watched him work too hard for too many years for the people of the Commonwealth and for the veterans of the Commonwealth of the 6th District. Not on my watch. I'm also the father of an Eagle Scout. I know there's several Scouters here in this room. But I believe one of the proudest titles that I hold is I am the son, the very proud son, of a retired United States Navy World War II veteran.
Yeah.
And he's not going to let his Navy be used against him either. My father reminds me that the Marine Corps is the department of the Navy, and I remind him we're the men's department. I do it with a salute, though, because I don't like doing push-ups. Here we go. We cut up and we joke with each other about our branches of service, and we tease with each other, and I notice the Navy seems to take it a little harder than others. All kidding aside, at the end of the day, we're all on one team, we're all in one fight, and we all serve under the same flag. Amen. I may not supposed to be doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I saw a report in the New York Times that said that there were veterans organizations who were upset because he compared his service to ours, to his opponents. He didn't start that, I did. I compared his service to mine. I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, to bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Guess what? So did he. And the comment that I made was his service was no less important than the service that I provided. It was just in a different genre. It was no less important. But you see how they turned that around. It got turned around. They said that veterans organizations were upset and demanded an apology. Yeah? Okay. I'm sorry your head's in the sand. Come over and knock on my door. I'll tell you, I'm sorry your head's in the sand. Because if you're, all these veterans organizations, where are they? They're not out here on the street watching it happen. They're not out here on the street where the rubber meets the road watching what he's doing. At Veterans Coalition meeting, all across the country, other congressmen are starting to do what he started doing right here. Amen? Amen. It's happening. It's making a difference, not just here, but across this country. I'm not going to stand by. Not on my watch. You got to get up, you got to get involved, and sometimes you just got to get out there and get your hands dirty. May my God bless you all. God bless your families, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
If any of you were having flashbacks, they're now fully there with the sergeant talking to us. I love it. Outstanding. A reminder to every one of us in here what matters is service, and what brings us all together is that flag. But we also have one other thing. He did ask you to sit down. I'm going to ask you to stand back up again. So it's now time for the national anthem. We always have to remember that we are sitting here because we stand on the shoulders of those who went before us and paid the sacrifice so that we can be here tonight. We must never forget that or abuse it as we go forward.
Amen.
Tonight, as we look ahead, our first speaker tonight is former Adjutant General of the Kentucky, Major General Donald Storm, U.S. Army, retired. Major General Donald C. Storm began his military career in 1970 as an enlisted soldier serving with the Military Assistance Command, Vietnam. After leaving active duty in 1972, he enlisted in the Kentucky Army National Guard and on December 9, 2003, was appointed as the 51st Adjutant General of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. General Storm retired from military service in December 2007. Welcome to the stage, Major General Donald Storm.
Well,
Sergeant Reynolds helped me do part of my job, and that's the deal on any sergeant. He takes care of these officers around, and he did a good job there. So let me start by, I want to welcome all the veterans. Listen to this, their families, friends and neighbors, and all of those in attendance, and all of those generally concerned and consistently support the American soldier, the American Marine, the American Airman, the American Seaman, and our Coast Guard personnel, and all the reserve forces that have become operationally important as well as strategic. So to all of you, thanks so much for your attendance here today in support of this important event and this wonderful family man and first-rate Congressman Andy Barr. One thing about this gathering, Congressman Barr, is these veterans today thoroughly understand the service they rendered was in support and love of the greatest nation on the face of the earth. Amen. And there is no close second. Absolutely. They also understand and recognize arrogance when they see it. So, the strong support in this room demonstrates and showcases Congressman Barr's commitment to veterans and their families. They thoroughly understand also that you've been loyal to their needs. You have demonstrated a duty to serve and as a servant leader. And you've been a good listener. You have shown total respect to everyone in this room. You are by nature a selfless individual. You're a we, us, and they person and congressman, not a me, myself, and I. The person who listens and executes when it comes to veterans, not a what I shoulda, coulda done. You served us all with honor and integrity, and you have exhibited the personal courage to consistently work for programs that meet the needs of veterans and all service personnel. Now the facts are, since talk is relatively cheap, as many in this room know, Congressman Barr established the 6th District Veterans Coalition, which meets quarterly, so he and his staff can hear directly from veterans and solicit their input and advice regarding legislation and military matters. This coalition has grown to more than 1,000, and the casework team has helped hundreds of veterans resolve problems with the VA, help with the disability claims, and help with a host of issues that veterans and their families and all military personnel encounter. So I started my military career in 1970, and my first assignment was Military Assistance Command Vietnam, and the majority of my 37 years and 6 months service was a full-time soldier with the Kentucky National Guard. After 9/11, I became the Chief of Staff of the Kentucky Army National Guard and was honored and privileged to serve as the Adjutant General of the Kentucky Guard from 2003 to 2007. That included the Army and Air National Guard. During that time, we deployed over 10,000 of Kentucky's sons and daughters to Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Balkans. And during that time, we sent numerous airmen and soldiers in response to Katrina and other things that occurred throughout that time period. Now, in addition, a good chunk of the wall that is already built along the border was built by Kentuckians. Some of you may not know that. We've got a man down there that was part of that operation. Now, many of these troops participating in building that wall were from the 6th Congressional District. And nobody at that time thought this wall was a colossal waste. You might have read a Twitter where that was by the opponent that stated that the wall was a colossal waste. Definitely, these Kentucky sons and daughters that worked on these sections of the wall realized it was very important to the safety of all Americans. Congressman Barr believes wholeheartedly in the Guard's assistance in securing the border. However, his opponent does not feel that way. So you need to know that. Bottom line, Congressman Barr is a strong supporter of our National Guard and Reserve forces and the total and joint military force. As a member of the National Guard Caucus, Andy was awarded the 2017 Charles Dick Medal of Merit Award for distinguished service in providing exceptionally strong support to the National Guard. Folks, again, let me say this. Thanks for coming. Thank your families and you for your service. Thank your friends and neighbors and your communities for their service. And remember, veterans, and all these family members and all these people that you love, we need not waste somebody with the heart and the compassion and the appreciation of military service and your service. And I just thank God that I have the opportunity to stand up here and support this great congressman. Thank you all, and God bless each and every one of you.
Kentucky pride shows through right there. I love it. As we move on tonight, it is my pleasure to introduce Lieutenant Don Bramer, United States Naval Reserve. Don is the chairman and founder of the Bramer Group, a veteran of both combat and of Capitol Hill. And for those of us who've been in Washington and watched this congressman fight, we understand that both require different set, and you provide those skills. But he's also served in the offices and campaigns of U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell at both the state and national levels. After 9/11, he left the political arena and enlisted in the United States Navy, where he joined the family heritage of military services stretching back to World War II. Over the years, he was called up multiple times and served in the Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force from 2005 to 2007, where he operated all over Iraq as an intelligence officer and senior interrogator. For that time, in those tours, he was awarded 2 Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medals, 2 Combat Action Badges, and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal, along with the Iraqi Campaign Medal with 2 stars. In 2009, he received his commission as a naval officer and continues his service as a member of the Reserve Intelligence Staff at the Joint Chiefs of Staff's office. He continues that service as a naval reservist at Joint Base Andrews. Please welcome to the stage Lieutenant Don Bramer.
All right, well, good evening. As Doug said, I'm a naval officer, but I'm also a Kentuckian. And I want to take a moment to talk about a few of the great things that my friend, Congressman Andy Barr, has done to strengthen our national defense and support our war fighters, including our men and women of uniform right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Of course, Andy has always fought for Kentucky, but did you know that he has fought to secure 16 new Hercules C-130s for the 123rd Air Wing right here in Kentucky? And his commitment to ensure that the Bluegrass Army Depot continues its critical mission to destroy chemical and biological weapons, but also at the same time making sure that they're on the ready to send ammunition across the globe to support our war fighters. Recently, Andy also helped prevent the closure of the National Guard Army right here on Airport Road. making sure that the 138th Field Artillery and Civil Air Patrol Unit did not end and was able to continue to carry out its mission. And then, that's not all. He's introduced amendments to increase funding to the National Guard Counter-Drug Program, which is critical to ending the fight against narcotic epidemic in this state and across the globe. And as someone who is deployed to Iraq and the Middle East with some of this nation's most elite warfighters, I appreciate how hard Andy continues to work to make sure our troops have the equipment they need when they go downrange. One example is how he helped make sure there's funding for new body armor. Armor that helps protect our troops when they're in the fight and against harm's way. He's also working hard to make sure we have the warfighters and the lethality to protect our men downrange. One example is the Common Remote Operated Weapon Station called CROWS, a system that allows our soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines to stay within the safety of their vehicles while targeting gunfire safely and not being exposed to gunfire. This reduces the risk to them, but also increases lethality for our warfighters. Andy and his staff continuously work to help us bring jobs back to Kentucky and helping our folks, not only in uniform, but out of uniform, to bring jobs home. So you wonder, why would anyone turn against that service? Well, I'm telling you, Andy Barr, from our experience, is one of the hardest working members of Congress, fighting to get the troops the weapons and armor they need to do their job to defend this nation. He's a proven record leader for the military. We rely on him, our economy relies on him, and I want you to know Kentucky can continue to rely on Andy Barr. So let me say one thing. We need Andy Barr back in Congress. We need to send him to D.C. And no one knows that more than our service members, our veterans, because there's no one who will fight harder to represent them every day that he's there. So for that, let's go Andy Barr. Are we developing a theme tonight?
A good man is somebody you keep. Andy Barr is somebody we keep in Congress. We move right along. We go from the Navy back to the United States Marine Corps. Sergeant Travis Cassidy. Sergeant Travis Cassidy is a United States Marine Corps veteran, served for 8.5 years. Born and raised in Mount Sterling, Kentucky, Sergeant Cassidy did a tour in Iraq during Operation Phantom Fury and was involved in the Battle of Abu Ghraib prison, where 42 Purple Hearts were given in his unit alone. Sergeant Cassidy survived 2 separate IED attacks and was later stationed at Camp Johnson, serving as senior non-com of the military police in Camp Guard. He later served at Camp Hansen in Mount Fuji, Japan, and currently owns, and this is pretty cool, 360 Auto Body Repair Shop in North Middleton, Kentucky. Please welcome to the stage Sergeant Travis Cassidy.
Good evening. My name is Travis Cassidy. I'm a huge supporter of Andy Barr, as we all are here tonight. Last year, I'm sure some of y'all know about it, some of you don't. My father was hurt down at Hurricane Maria, down there in Punta Cana. He broke his hip, so due to the hazardous conditions, they couldn't get him to the hospital. The resort was unable to transport him to the hospital due to the roads were flooded, trees were down, and they had no way of taking a vehicle through the water. So 2 days later, as he laid there in bed, losing blood, in pain, not knowing what to do, he finally got away to the hospital. Once he got to the hospital, there was nothing but more but bad news. They said, "We don't have your blood type." So what do we do after that? So he calls me from some weird number. I know y'all know those international phone numbers, they're long as they can be. But he called me and told me, he says, "They don't have my blood type, I need help, here's my insurance, here's this, I need you to find a way to get me back home." So, called his insurance, did all that. All they gave me was a runaround. "I'm sorry, but it's an international injury, but we can't help you." I said, well, that ain't gonna work. This is my father, he's dying. He's down in the Dominican Republic. I said, this is not gonna work. So, I reach out, get a hold of Andy Barr's office. They sent over the paperwork 38 minutes later. 38 minutes. My father, which is sitting right there, he got a phone call saying, you're coming home. Thanks to So we got him back down here to Florida. He had his surgery, and then 2 days later, we get to welcome him right here in Lexington. It was very special, because I didn't know that whenever my dad was going his anniversary, I didn't know that he was going to get injured and may not make it home. But if it wasn't for Andy Barr, he wouldn't be here right now. This shows you the type of person and character that Andy Barr has.